So if you're if
Oh,
All right.
it just keeps going.
Well, it's a cascade failure thing.
It is.
It's like all right.
Jump
So if
off the
you're
edge,
thinking about
JoeBuoy.
switching it up, now you're talking in the middle of it.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Lions Pride Tavern podcast number 76. Tonight we find out how we did in this weekend's continuing raid of Antorus the Burning Throne. And tonight, again, our infamous series Dancing with the Bosses continues. But before all that, let's start off with introductions. I'm your host, Stafford. I play a Dwarven Beastmaster Hunter in the awesome game World of Warcraft. Next up is JoeBuui.
Hi, I'm JoeBuui. I play a Worgen mage.
You're bouncing, huh?
I've been doing some testing and I've been doing some practicing, and what I'm finding out is that fire is not scaling as well as frost is. And so now that my gear level is getting really high, frost is pulling far ahead of fire again. It's always with this like back and forth stuff. But so I'm probably going to be switching back to frost again soon.
JoeBuui, spec curious.
I'm mage. That's what I am.
Yeah, he's just a mage, a Worgen mage.
But not arcane.
And Lorelei.
Hi, it's Lorelei, your Night Elf Arms Warrior, and that was funny because I was starting to think about going back and trying some Fury too with some of the legendaries that I've gotten lately.
Oh, nice.
Wow, everybody's exploring their other side.
Yeah.
No.
What about Epistle?
No. I'm Epistle, not holy, not retribution, prot. All prot, all the time. Actually, this tune has always been never anything else.
Speaking of that, do you have the protection warrior mage tower mace yet? Do you have that?
No, I haven't put any time. I did months and months ago, and thought, well, I'll do this later when I got the gear, which I probably have now.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I've been working on. I recently switched my paladin over to protection paladin because that's the only mace in the game, and I want it like an actual mace on a chain.
Oh, because it looks nice.
It's cool. So
I'll have to look
it's
into
got
that
like
then.
physics, like it like hangs from the chain and stuff. It's not just like, looks like a mace on the end of a chain. It's actually like a heavy weight on the end of a chain. I have to have it. It's the only one in the game.
Epistle needs a dangly hammer then, eh?
Yeah.
All right, let's go
I'm not.
on.
No.
Oh no, sounds like raid night.
Not
Yeah,
gonna touch
right?
that one.
So, unfortunately, we don't have a charity tonight. She had family obligations, so we will not be hearing from the healer aspect of our dances with the bosses.
We could talk about bandaging during raids.
Yeah,
Oh,
right. There
yeah.
we go.
I do
yeah,
that
yeah.
all
Oh.
the time. People
And
tease me
cookies.
about that.
Oh, mage self heals. That's exciting.
Well,
God knows, I stop in the
Pally,
middle and I start
DK.
bandaging. God, get myself
Well,
something.
I don't know if you knew this, Lorelei, but you were taking damage in the raid last time, and at
I
one point you were
was.
down there, and I was fine, so I threw you a heal. One of my self
Oh,
heals
thank
onto you.
you.
You're welcome.
'Cause
Didn't help you
sometimes
die.
those DPS, I'll be honest, we feel like we're a little bit down the charts on the heals because we know that the tanks have to stay up and heals have to stay up, and we take one for the team, and we taunt when we're not supposed to, and we die when we're not supposed to, but I love my bandages.
Well, you weren't getting cleaved, so I've got no complaints.
Oh good. No, I try to stay behind you wherever you are.
Excellent.
That's funny because it seems like every time I go to use one of mine, whether I use a lock cookie or I use my 30%er, as soon as I use it, I get healed to full. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I should have just waited.
That happens to me a lot too. Like I'll be sitting there and be like, oh, my health is. I should heal myself with this cookie, because it will save the healers some mana, and it goes up it goes from like 20% up to 50%, and then all of a sudden it jumps up to like 80%, 90, 100, and I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, somebody's already thinking about healing you.
Oh yeah, they were on it.
Yeah, we got good healers. And they don't like to see it when the bar goes really low. And that's what I usually do. I wait till it gets down to like the sliver and go, okay, I better heal myself, or use my turtle shell.
Interestingly, I made a tanky mage setup.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. I got to. So
That's called having a DPS stand in front of you.
No, it's really,
Yeah, it is.
it's actually fairly impressive. All right, in Fire Spec we have our blink heals, right? Which is called I think cauterized blink or something like that. And basically, when I blink, I heal myself for 20% of my health. But I have a legendary chest piece. It's up a shield for I think it's roughly like 1.5 million or it's a pretty heavy amount. And then on top of that, you can put on the neck piece, which gives like another like 1.5 million. And then you have a shield, which can give you like an absorb shield for about another 500,000. So with my health at around, or my HP at around like 6.3, 6.4 million, roughly that, then I can get that all the way up to close to like 9.5 million hit points, including all of my shields and absorbs that I can do. I was running around on Argus doing those bosses that you're supposed to find a group for or whatever. I was soloing them and not taking damage.
Nice.
Yeah, except for we're on the portal boss, and all of a sudden I hear JoBui yell out, and this is in our live stream. He yells out, "Yay! I'm mage taking!" And a split second later, you go, "Not for very long."
No,
Yep.
I was not in my mage tank spec there, but against heroic bosses, I mean, no, there's no hope. I might stand a second, but that's about it.
Yeah, we had both of our tanks went down, and JoBui steps up. He goes, "Yay, mage taking!" Oh, not any longer.
Not
Aw.
good.
It was fun for a second.
Yeah.
Well, it lasted. How much damage can one of your shields take?
Oh, well, in total, all three of them, it's like 3.5 million. It's
So,
like
in
over
one of
half
the-
my health.
So in one of the fights, just so you know, the one that I went down, I'll talk about more in the come at me moment. I took a 4 million hit and a 2 million hit, and then went down.
Whew.
Wow.
That's on Portal Keeper, so that's probably why it didn't last very long.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like I didn't have any of those legendaries on for the raid. Those are, I used them for Mythic Plus actually, because you take a lot of damage in this week's Mythic
Yeah.
Plus affixes. So I put those on to take the strain off the healers, and I went through the whole plus 15 and only got healed about like 5 or 6 times by the healer throughout the fight or throughout the whole dungeon. So it was pretty nice. Worked well.
Nice. Yeah. I did find out that my turtle shell does not, I repeat, does not help you out when you already have a hot on you. Or not a hot, a dot.
Yeah.
You
Not
just,
much
like,
does.
you boil inside the shell.
Exactly.
Hmm.
I had down to a sliver and I went, "Oh, turtle, yes, I made it in time," and I died. And I'm dead. My turtle shell's still over me.
Protecting your corpse. How
I
useful.
was like, how does that work? That was on, what boss was that? That was on the boss where you got to get inside, what's that one called? You got to get inside the pod people.
Oh, the high
Oh,
command.
high
High
command.
command. Yeah, that was on high command. I
The
was running
pod
over to the
people.
second boss, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm really down low. Got a sliver of health." Of course, that was really good of whoever suggested that, and I wish I could remember his name. But somebody was saying that when the spinny guy, when the little spinny guy comes out and hits you, that as a hunter you can throw your frost trap down, and it stops him from spinning and sends him back to the center. That was really helpful. I've used that a lot now.
Oh,
Not just
yeah.
on me, but other people.
Sure.
I've seen them come out and hit them, and they're standing there like a healer. They're getting hit, and I throw my frost trap down.
Nice.
I think I was saving Charity on that one, but she's not here to back that up. So, well, how is everybody this week? They doing good? I know
Yeah.
here in
Yeah,
Montana,
sorta.
we got
Recovering.
a ton more snow.
Yeah, we did
snow,
too.
Yeah.
We did
Yeah.
here in South Dakota. We're looking at like 1.5 feet between today and tomorrow
Yeah.
or something like that. It looks pretty light snow
It's down
though.
in the 40s here, so
Well, down in the 40s.
Oh, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
We're looking
I-
forward
they
to
said
that
it was
in
supposed
May
to have
or
been 80
June.
Friday, but it never got there because it was raining
Oh.
and it was like in the 50s.
Wow.
Well,
Can you
And
hear
that's our
how
weather.
can
we
you
put our
hear how
shorts
bad
on when
we
it hits
feel
40.
for you?
I know. I'm
You know-
tired of the rain. That's all it's doing is raining. for 2
Rain.
weeks
Oh,
now.
I'm looking forward to hearing rain again. That'll be
Well,
nice.
we do have rain. It's in the form of frozen rain.
See, I'd rather have that than rain.
You know, every time I hear somebody say, you know, like they're like, oh, you know, it was supposed to get, you know, it didn't get down into the 40s. It was going to, or whatever, you know. And I'm thinking, I always think back to my uncle. He came in to visit us one time. I lived in Michigan, and he was from Florida, and it was like springtime, and it got down. It was like 45, 50 degrees out. You know, the snow was melting. I threw on some shorts and a t-shirt and ran outside to go play. And I'm out there playing in the yard. And I turn around and look, and he walks out of the house, and he's got like a puffy down jacket on and a snow hat. And I'm all like, what is wrong with you? And then it occurred to me, and I'm only like 8 years old, he's from Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see, we went down to visit California a number of years back, and in the winter it was there, and it's maybe around, I don't know, 65 or 60 or something, and we're like in shorts and t-shirts walking on the beach thinking how wonderful it is. Most locals didn't have that attitude.
The beaches were empty, weren't they?
We had the place to ourselves, and you know, we sloshed around in the water a little bit and just getting these funny looks.
They don't sell those big heavy coats in California.
No.
You have to go out of state to get those.
You order them off
Yeah,
of the
you have
web.
to go to Oregon.
Nice. Yeah.
Drop ship them by drone these days.
Yep. Well, that's why Amazon made so much money.
Yeah, right. Well, I do have to say that we did get our Christmas tree down this week. Actually,
Nice.
today.
Seriously, it was that
Me
long.
too.
My wife loves Christmas.
You must have an artificial tree.
It is, yeah, it's an artificial.
Okay,
Oh,
all
you
right.
know, that really makes me upset. I'm driving down the road on the interstate, going down the road, you know, 40 miles an hour because it's, you know, snowing and blowing, and there's 2 Christmas trees along the side of the road that somebody just tossed out. That just annoys me.
Now, see, here in my town, we have like a designated like
Pickup
week,
day, right?
like 2 weeks. Actually.
Yeah, so do we.
It's like 2 weeks where we just throw it out by the curb, and they drive around town. They collect them all, and they take them out to our local. You know, we have like a not horrible stuff fill where it's like wood and stone and stuff like that, and they chip
Right.
it up and they put it in the fill over there.
Yeah, they make compost out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they do here too. But it's like, okay, so who's the idiot who forgot or didn't know that and just threw it out? I mean, really throw it out outside the interstate? I mean, come on.
Yep. Maybe maybe it would like blew off their car or something.
Yeah.
You hope.
Yeah.
like yeah, the mattress.
Yeah.
like Grandma National Lampoon's Vacation
You
or
know,
something.
I understand that we pay taxes, but it doesn't mean our taxes have to go up to pick up everybody else's trash. Come on, people.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's my big complaint about this week.
Actually, speaking of trash, I can tie this into Warcraft.
All
Our
right.
biggest complaint was all the deaths we had on trash this week.
No kidding, right?
Well, that was an unexpected pull, I think, on that one that caused.
Yeah,
those
that was
deaths.
odd.
Somebody just got too close, or they, I don't know, mistargeted and hit it. I don't know whose fault it was, but I did see a lot of people die, including myself.
That was nothing new for me.
I survived the first wave of deaths. Like I saw like the first like 8 people die, and I was like, oh, a bunch of people died, and then my health like started dropping off, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm next.
I was going to say, although I got my trinket the week before, and I had like, I don't know, 7 of the stones that increased it by 5, and I applied them all. And this week, I noticed a drastic improvement in my DPS. I mean, I went from being down there, 14-ish, up into the 10s, or above, 8 to 10. So I was impressed that one trinket could make such a big deal.
Yeah, it really can.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of which, to our listeners out there, I recently posted a week aura that tracks all the Argus Pantheon trinkets, including the legendary one. It's available if you want to get it. The string is available on our Facebook page. So if you go to the Lions Pride Tavern Facebook page, there's a post there with the week aura available that will track all of the Argus trinket procs for you.
Yes, it's very cool.
Yes, what did you find this week running it then, getting a chance to see how it worked? What kind of discoveries or observations did you make?
Well, it was cool to see when it would go off. There's some things I don't understand about it because the second proc I thought was supposed to last like a certain amount of time, but sometimes I would see it go off and then it would go away like very quickly, like it dropped off of me or something.
In combat or out of combat? I was wondering if it sort of drops early.
In combat, the weak aura is designed to only show in combat. So
okay.
I'll only see that while I'm fighting, and I see the first proc all the time. That seems to be going off fairly frequently. It's the secondary proc that you only get when it's combined with 3 other procs that are different than yours, or the wild card, which the wild card is the legendary one. And I guess you can have like 4 of the legendary ones go off together, and they will all trigger each other for the secondary proc. But otherwise, you would need like 1 agility, 1 intelligence, 1 strength, and 1 tank or 1 healer or something, some combination of those to proc independently. And then the 4 people that proc those, they get the secondary proc, which gives you some really nice bonuses. And I think I saw like 2 or 3 of those secondary procs going off during, say, like a 5-minute fight. So it was decent.
Yeah, I really enjoy your add-on to see when it comes up and stuff. So.
Oh, you can see it now, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Well, and that may be because I have the trinket. Maybe I don't know. I mean, would it show if you don't have the trinket?
No.
I wouldn't think so.
No, so, you could equip it, but it would never go off until you actually. You could like put the add-on in there, and when you get the trinket, then suddenly you'll start seeing it.
Yeah.
But it only tracks the buffs that are applied to you.
Right.
But it tracks all the different buffs from all the different trinkets, and so it doesn't matter which trinket you have. If it goes off on you, it will show up on your screen, and you can see it.
Awesome. So JoBui mentioned our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Lions Pride Tavern, if you guys want to go there and look at our stuff that we post there. We also have a YouTube channel, and you can just search Lions Pride Tavern Podcast. It should bring it right up. We're on iTunes, Google Play, and Podomatic.com, and now Potable.co. C-O. I think that's, that was a new one that they just added.
Yeah, nice.
Potable. I think, now, isn't CO is like Europe and stuff? I'm not quite sure. I didn't actually do it. I mean, somebody added us to Potable, but and it may even be somebody we know over there, because I know we got a couple of listeners over there in the UK. Go UK! I think they're doing pretty well in the Olympics. I don't know. But another place you can...
Nothing like Canada.
Well, okay, but see, Canada and Winter Olympics, that kind of goes hand in hand. Come on.
Hand in glove.
Hand in glove, yes. There you go. So you can also hit us up at advertisecast.com. Just do a search for Lions Pride Tavern. And you can possibly be one of our advertisers like these guys right here. Are movies, gaming, TV, comics, and general nerdy culture your life? They are for the guys at Nerdy Things Podcast. There's no more entertaining way to stay up to date on your nerdy news than listening to the nerdy boys discuss this week's biggest hits before diving deeper into a main topic. that's sure to tingle your nerdy senses. You can find a new episode every Thursday on the podcatcher of your choice. And on YouTube, they have exclusive extras added through the week, like movie reviews and more. Don't wait. Add Nerdy Things Podcast to your library as soon as you finish this episode. Links are in the description below. So those are the guys at Nerdy Things Podcast. That's Kevin, Jules, and Tim. They're going to advertise with us for the entire month of February. So great, guys. I'm glad you picked us, and hopefully you pick up a few listeners from us to you, and we pick up a few listeners from you to us.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
You know, with Canada, I thought it would have been like hand in broom.
Since when is curling a sport? Come on.
Yeah. Sweep, sweep, sweep. I like curling. Thank you very much.
Hurry, hurry, hurry.
I like watching it. I don't know why I like watching it, but
It's
enjoy
like
it.
slow bowling.
It's awesome. It's like people bowling, because one of them is like the bowling ball, sort of. You know, like when they're letting go of the stone and they're sort of gliding along with it, and I'm like, that's like some sort of like graceful nonsense.
Hey guys, don't tell anybody. Just keep it between us. I've never curled, and I don't understand it.
What?
It's like shuffleboard on
I
ice.
Go curling! Yay,
But
Canada!
it needs beer.
But I like the mystery of it. It's beautiful.
Well, I think it's why I think I like the idea of cricket, and I just think cricket's the coolest thing ever. And I have never played it, and never
Okay,
will.
so I don't get cricket because I try to associate it with baseball, and it's nothing like baseball.
Yeah, I think of cricket. I think of
Yeah.
darts. I played
That's
Yeah,
cricket
confusing.
and darts.
Darts.
Yeah, that's one of the games in darts.
I
It's
know,
called
I know.
cricket.
I was thinking bugs, and you
Oh.
said darts. All right, guys, we're into it 20 minutes already, so let's figure out how we did on this weekend's raid. Jobui?
All right. Well, this week we took a vote amongst our raiders, and we decided that we were going to skip Varamathras and the Coven as well this week, and go right to Agrimar and Argus the Unmaker on normal, which we went in and we just took those guys out. It was lickety split, no problem. I mean, it was just like old hat. We even had a new player who'd never done it before, an Argus the Unmaker, did pretty well. Ant, if you're listening, good job this week. So then we went on to Heroic, and on our first night still our first night, we got through Guidotti Worldbreaker, Fellhounds, on the first night, and also we went to ENR the Lifebinder, got that one down as well, which was the furthest we'd gotten in Heroic on our first night of raiding. Came back, second night, took down Antorin High Command on our first try. That was awesome work by everybody involved. Went on to Portal Keeper, and I think it was like our third try, second or third try.
Third or fourth?
Third or fourth, yeah, we had a few technical, like we had one at the beginning that just, it was a disaster. I got knocked off the platform, he says, confessing. Right, and so a bunch of stuff like that, and it just, we had a couple of little glitches that were not beautiful. So probably about 3 or 4.
Yeah, it was a few pulls, but it was, each one was an improvement. I tried a little bit of something different with how we were splitting the groups on that night, which I think worked out really well. And then we made small adjustments after that that seemed to work. And then after downing Portal Keeper for the first time, yay! We went on to Iminar, the Soul Hunter, and I think it was that our second pull on Iminar? Second pull on Iminar, got Iminar down, ran out of time for the week. But man, we got through 2 progression bosses this week.
Yeah, and Imnar, no, I guess it was 3 because
three?
we did, because
Oh yeah, there was the everybody step off the platform.
right. It was like, all right, we're not continuing here with just this many people. I think 3 of our 5 healers were dead.
No, it was
Coming,
4.
Four, yeah.
It was
coming
4. There
across
was
the
one
bridge.
Yeah, I was like, everybody just die. Just die.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tanks were over there going, maybe this is the attempt we should never talk about again.
Like, if you get to a certain point and it's past the threshold of no return, you're not going to win. Why waste the time? Just die quick and try it again.
Yep. Well, but you have to be very careful about making that determination though, because on one of our polls, and I think it was on Portal Keeper, if I remember right. Somebody suggested it, and then all of a sudden it was like everybody was like, okay, and it wasn't really a command. It was kind of a suggestion, and then it happened anyway.
Yeah, they said, should we jump off the edge? And I was like, I'm not sure. And then we all blew up.
Yeah.
Oh, that was when Epistle went down.
Yeah.
And they didn't think they had a res left, and then all the imps blew up because nobody could figure out what to do. Yep.
Yeah, it was a mess. That one was a mess. But
luckily, I was
other
dead
ones
by then already, so I just laid there on the ground and watched it.
But he's right though. It has come up before where somebody's like, oh, "Should we wipe it here?" And I've said no. Let's play it out, and we won. So there are times when, and it's a tough call. When you're looking at the roster that's left, you're looking at who's alive, how many people, how many DPS, how many reses do we have? There's a lot of factors that get involved. How far along is the boss?
Well, and the nature of the boss too, right? Because sometimes some are forgiving. You can keep going. Others just keep escalating. So it all depends.
Yeah. I mean, like if you get to the last part of Portal Keeper, where after you've done the platforms, it's really not that bad. After you've knocked all the platforms out. Yeah, the damage is bad and stuff, but everybody's on the main platform to take care of the imps. There's just a lot easier time handling it, I think, at that point. So
you can also afford to be one tank down, which is what happened. I was down for a while, and between Darag and a couple of his cooldowns, and I don't know if somebody taunted off him for a while, did. Right? And so just that little bit of tweaking was just enough to make that a successful fight.
Mm-hmm. Right. I think we had like a 20 or 30 second wait on a res for you on that fight.
So some really great improvisation in the group to pull that off.
And it's fun. That stuff is exciting when that happens. It's not clean, but it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say our last couple of polls or losses were textbook.
Well, isn't that progression though? Progression is often very messy.
Yeah, that's the nature of progression.
Well, didn't we get one of them down to like less than 1% again?
This week?
Yeah.
No.
I thought there was one. Yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, I thought there was one that we got down. I was like, because my little window came up saying 0%. Oh. But I know it wasn't 0% because we didn't kill him. But we were that close.
Right. Well, I know that we, on our first poll of the night on Portal Keeper, we got it down to 8%, which was like
amazing.
Our previous best was something like 45, 50%. Yes. So that was a really good poll. Now, for our listeners out there, the thing that I did different with the splitting of the groups was I just left it up to the individual players. I said, if you're really good at AoE, stay down on the platform and kill the imps. If you're really good at single target, go up on the through the gates, the portals, and go kill those guys. And I kind of left it up to the other players. And then when
we had to adjust from there though, because there was obviously more AoE DPS than there was single target, because
there was, but then there was also some people who thought, well, I'm really good at AoE, but then they realized that the imps were dying faster than they could lay down their AoE, like with our Affliction Warlock.
Oh, yep.
And so he switched to going up on the platforms to go take down the mini bosses because he was going to be more valuable there. And he recognized that and made that decision. We're like, yeah, go for it.
Which is good. The mini bosses were a little sluggish initially. That's why we had to do that kind of adaptation and maybe, as you're saying, adjusting one or two here or there. Because those were going down a little too slow, and that could have been a tank killing situation. So pick that up and prove that worked, because you can't do too much of one or the other. I was surprised at the great management of the imps though, because that was the bane of our existence and the thing that I was nervous about. But there was no problem with the imps this time around.
No, not really. Now there was a number of people that were prepared for that, but there was a secondary plan that was in place. Plucky, who is a very avid raider, he raids with some really high end groups. Him and I had chatted outside of raid and about bringing one of his really strong AoE tunes to that particular fight to try and help out with those imps, because I knew that was a trouble spot for us. And so he was more than willing. He's like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'll bring that tune, and did a great job. That helped, but so did everybody else. It wasn't just him. It was the whole team working together that accomplished that.
Well, and not only that, we had Dordan switched over back to his Beastmaster Hunter from his Death Knight.
Yeah, and in that, I'd like to note that him and I discussed, him switching to his DK, because we were running melee short for a while there, and so he said, like, do you think it would help if I brought him? Now his DK is actually higher item level than his Beastmaster Hunter. He's just more comfortable with his Beastmaster Hunter than he is his DK. But we needed melee for a time there. We were really heavy on ranged, and we were really kind of short on melee. And that's kind of changing now, where we're not short on melee anymore. We were a little short on range a couple of nights. But at the time when we had discussed it, he had brought that tune along because we were short on melee, and we discussed it, and that tune was ready to raid. I mean, it has tier gear. It was higher item level than his other tune, but he did bring his hunter along, and which he's more comfortable with. And I'll actually be touching a little bit on that subject during my minute later too, as well.
Okay, yeah, I just thought with Portal Keeper, it has been our progression, and we got really close, and then finally got it down. But it was just like you said, it was just the little tweaks we had, sending one person up that was normally down, and then I think one of our wiped a lot of people is we came out of a portal right onto the big green lines that come out on there, the beams, and
those were horrible.
It killed me as soon as I came down. I mean, because I was low from being up above, and as I came through the portal, but you can turn around, you can actually see the fight down below too. So I think we need to mention that before you run through the portal, if you got your camera back far enough, you can see down there. And so it was one of our attempts. I almost hit the portal and stopped because I saw the beams. And I waited till the first beam faded and I went through. Yeah.
Well, that fight really is sometimes just wait 1 second before doing something. So, wait to see that it's clear to go down. Wait till the tank's taunted. And even in one of our failed attempts, I came down and I'm trying to remember what it was. And I taunted, and we're doing a little taunt swap to get rid of the tank debuff. And I taunted, just like a third of a second too early, so my stacking debuff didn't drop. And it's one of those things, you're just so eager, and you don't realize you have to wait that half second to take the portal or do it, to do whatever you need to do. And especially when it's heroic, you're eager. Oh yeah, it would have been that kill done earlier.
We would have had it. We had almost everybody up, and then there was that little mistake, and then it was cascade failure from there. But another thing in that fight that I noticed was, like people are speaking up about things that they need, which is great. Like we heard from Charity in that fight, hey, can you tell us when the green is gone from the floor from the people on, down on the main platform? So we were trying to tell them it's clear, you can come down. The other thing was in that fight, I was trying to keep a watchful eye on the timer for the imps, so that I could let everybody know that was down on the platform, the imps are coming, get ready to kill them imps. And we were melting them. They were going down fast. It was great. And even the ones that were like off in the corner, kind of away from the other imps, because they don't all spawn in the same spots, they were getting interrupted. They were getting grabbed by DKs. They were getting slammed with all kinds of spells, single target spells and stuff. Everybody was on point, and they did a great job.
Well, I need to agree with Epistle on one point there, where he's saying, the last couple of fights have been kind of a hurry up and slow down. Yeah. Because like with EMNAR, when we got across the bridge the first time and coming back, the second time when they have all the laser beams, people were just rushing across because they think they have to get down there to get to the boss. And when we killed him, and we had all but I think 3 people up, we stopped everybody at the beginning and said, okay, look, let's follow each other very closely. And that worked. We got through there. We had very little damage coming across. We waited for the healers to heal us up, I think is what we were doing.
Yeah, that we were dodging those those big balls in heroic. There's some large balls that roll down the platform in 3 different rows, and you have to like dodge those and the traps on the floor. And so there was times where, I'd see the big balls coming down on the right hand side of the path where we needed to run to, and I'm like, we have to wait here. And then I saw like a bunch of people just stop and stand there and just be patient and wait for it. And yeah, that helped a lot.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's hard to do in these battles where, timing is everything, and you have to wait to go down on the portal to make sure the ground is clear. And you have to, wait for the ball to come rolling by before you proceed.
Absolutely. We also learned another thing in that particular fight, which I'll note for our listeners, was there was the idea in the head of a lot of our players was that if you attacked the boss when you reached the end of the pathway, if you made it across the bridge to the other platform, if you attacked the boss, then the boss would start attacking everybody on the bridge still. But that's not the case. What actually happens is the boss is casting some kind of a spell over on the other platform, and it's probably doing damage or something. I'm not really aware of that. But as we go down there, you can attack the boss, but just don't interrupt him. If you interrupt him, he'll start attacking the people on the bridge, but you can start attacking him without interrupting him, and that is perfectly fine.
Yeah, because I think I remember Alltaken being down still at the other end, and we were all like, "Where's Alltaken? He's not in range." And he was like, "I'm coming," and we didn't interrupt the boss until he got there, because he said, "I wasn't taking any damage."
Yeah, I looked back. I turned my camera around. I'm like, who is back there? And I looked back and I see Alltaken making his way across the platform, or from the other platform. I was like, what was he doing? Getting a snack?
I do know that when you get down to the other end of the platform and those 3 big orange balls are rolling at you, there's one at the end of the platform that just appears. Oh, so you don't want to stop. A lot of people, when they get to the end of the platform, they stop right there at the edge of the bridge. Don't do that if you're doing heroic. Move along to the sides out onto the main platform, because those balls appear, the side ones, they appear on the platform and then roll down the bridge.
Yeah, well, that center one showed up on a group of 8 of us.
I know.
It was like we're like, yay, we made it.
And then everybody died.
Yeah.
I was on the side when that happened. I saw it happen. I was like, oh my gosh, the ball just appeared on top of him.
Yeah, it was right on top of us. I was one of those people. It was like, it just
because it puts you
materialized.
To sleep. It puts you to sleep, and it does a whole bunch of ticking damage.
Yeah, it puts a nasty debuff on you.
Ugh. Yeah.
You take 70% extra damage when that thing touches you, off of everything else for a while.
Yeah, and I do know there was one complaint about the sleep canister. I think we need to, going into next week, when we get there, we need to talk a little bit more about it, because I think people were getting a little irritated, because they'd be like, okay, go ahead and disenchant.
Not tanks getting irritable, were we?
I don't recall hearing an epistle alarm.
Did I not? Well, you know what? Maybe I should have been louder, because there's a couple times I'm like, I'm asleep for 7 seconds.
I heard his alarm, but it was really polite.
Yes, you'll be wanting to move slightly to the side, please, A.
I'm sorry, you're making me fall asleep here.
A.
I can't tank now.
Okay, yeah, we'll definitely
You're gonna die
approach
now.
that subject.
Yeah, there were not a lot of dispels going on, even when they were being called.
Yeah.
Well, I noticed I had one person next to me called for a dispel, and I was like, no, I'm right next. And I took one step, and boom, I was asleep too.
There was one that I called for someone else, because
that was me too.
Yeah, because Dord was over there and he was all by himself. There was nobody within 10 yards of him. I was the closest person to him, and I was about 12 yards away. And I said, dispel Dord, because I saw you had the gas canister on him. And right after that, you ran right up to him, and I was like, oh, oops.
No, that was you. I ran to you.
You were running to me?
You said I had the gas canister, so I was running to you. I don't know why I ran to you. I think I saw you there, and I was like, oh, I got to get away, and I ran right towards you. And yeah, they dispelled you, and I got to go to sleep too.
Yeah, and I was all like, oh.
And you laughed.
Yeah, well, it's
You even called me out. Yeah, that was Stafford. He's asleep.
Don't do what he did.
Yeah, don't do what he did. He's the perfect example of what not to do.
Oh boy.
All right. Well, we need to move on, guys. So this week we are doing Dancing with the Bosses. This is a little something we came up with a while back that we talk about one of the bosses, and we talk about from our particular perspective as melee ranged heals and tank on what we do during this one particular boss, from all the little nuances that we might do or little secret things that might help us survive it. And we're doing Eamnar, the Soul Hunter.
No,
Eminar.
Eminar.
Wait, we're doing Eminar, the
Eminar.
Soul Hunter? The one
Yeah,
we
the
just
Soul
talked
Hunter.
about?
Yeah,
Okay.
we did
Yeah,
Life
go
Finder
figure,
last
eh?
week. Yeah, right, the one we were just talking about. But this is the normal version.
Right.
So let's stay on normal. So, Joey?
Okay, so I position myself around the edge of the platform. Not totally on the edge, but near the edge of the platform, and generally away from other players at the start of the fight. And then as the countdown begins, I pop hero and, drink my pot and all that and start attacking the boss. Give it all I've got. At that point, pretty much all I'm really watching out for is occasionally there will be a swirly that could possibly show up underneath my feet, which will then drop a mine on the ground. And you just want to step away from that, but only far enough away that you're out of the swirly. And then once the mine appears, go stand next to it. So if another mine happens to target you, it'll kind of overlap on the previous one. It just saves space. Beyond that, I just make sure that I watch out for any beams that might target me. Now these beams, basically, from the side, there will be a beam that will point towards me from a ship that is kind of way off the platform. And my job there is to try and aim that beam so it doesn't hit any other players. So I try and have it cover as little of the platform as possible, or I have it try and cover one of the ends. It doesn't always work out exactly how you want, but I do the best I can with that. Then we hit the transition phase during that part, and I will basically move from one platform to the other while trying to not touch any of the traps that are on the bridge, or getting really far to the edge of the bridge itself. If you get towards the edge of the bridge, it can put a debuff on you as well. So I just dodge everything. In the first part, there's just some circles on the ground, two different types of circles. I think one stuns you and the other one just does general damage. And I make it all the way to the other side with the group. I take my time. I don't try and rush. I try not to blink or run really fast. I just take my time and get over to the other side. And then once I get to the other side, I fight the boss. And on that one, there is another debuff that goes on us. I forget what it is. It doesn't go on me that often. I think it might be the sleep canisters that we talked about earlier that happen on the second platform, which basically is when it goes off, it'll make us, like if we ask for a dispel while it's on us, then when it goes off, it'll make other people around us fall asleep. So I watch to see when I'm clear of other players, and then I call for a dispel, and I try and avoid other players during that time. Then we basically keep fighting the boss with the same sort of mechanics we dealt with on the first platform until it's time to cross the bridge again. Only this time, now there's like tripwire things that look kind of like flaming wires, and there's a lot more of the traps on the ground. And I try and maneuver through those as best I can without touching any of them, moving slowly, keeping an eye on my health bar. If I have to, I'll eat a cookie or something, or the healers usually keep us pretty well topped up, or we'll pause for a moment for the healers to top us up. Get to the other side, and the only new mechanic on that third platform, basically, it's the first platform repeated, but The only other mechanic that you deal with there is you can get this this debuff on you that causes a knockback to other players and will damage them. And if that gets on you, then you just need to stand away from other players. Make sure that there's nobody close to you, and then you won't damage anybody else. And I think that lasts for 30 seconds. So that's basically it. Just keep damaging the boss and dodge those mechanics. And by the way, as a ranged, generally stay on the outside rim. Leave the inside areas of the platforms for the melee to move around in.
And speaking of melee, Lorelai.
Yeah. Well, we have to dodge all of those things on the ground, and it's more difficult for melee to do that because everything seems to be coming down right there in the center. But I try to run out when I see the little greenish swirly, which I think is one of the pulse grenades or something like that. And I think the hardest part is the sleep canisters are really giving us a problem. And part of it is people not moving out when they get it or not realizing they have it and then that they're still standing in melee. It was interesting when we come back. Well, no, we're on the second platform, I think it is, after we go through the traps and the weaving back and forth. I always thought that those red lines of fire were connecting two people because my camera's put in close enough that I don't really see what's going on far out from behind me, but I happen to be dead. I think I got hit by one of those balls that was coming down. And that was the first time I'd ever seen the two ships in the sky. And that's when I realized that's where they're coming from. So I think for melee, we have to learn that we need to go running to an edge of a platform and pay more attention to what direction that beam is coming from. Because I honestly thought I was connected when I got it once to somebody else. And I put it in completely the wrong place. So that was an interesting perspective to get to see for a change. But that's really what we do is we just stay on the boss the whole time and avoid all the stuff on the ground because there is a lot of it. And just do your best getting through that little maze of traps, and that's it for us.
Yeah, not too much different.
No, it's really I don't like that fight because it's very boring.
It's
just stand there and then moves, go back, stand, move, go back. That's all there is to it.
The sleep canister is definitely a lot harder for the melee because you guys are all hanging out together. So that's the communication just needs to get better on that, I think, and you guys will do fine with it.
Yeah. No, the play area is just so small. There's not a lot of difference between ranged and melee. So, and I don't know how big their hitbox is. Maybe you don't have to be that close. I don't know. I don't
have
watch
to
the
be
hitbox.
right on top of him, but I'm always having to run back and forth anyway because I'm trying to avoid. I usually get like a green swirly and a sleep canister, and when we come back the second time, then I think there's some kind of pulse. Is it a pulse grenade that shows up?
Yeah.
There's I think it's a red swirly now, and then you've got all of that going on. So sometimes I'm just kind of whirlwinding as I run by.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, Epistle, from a tanking perspective.
Fairly simple fight in most levels. It's, fight at A, fight at B, go back to fight at A again, alternating tank swap. And so that's a fairly straightforward thing. And as long as no melee puts you to sleep, you'll be fine. A couple things, though, that are... I'm not a crack at it. Lorelai, you never did it to me, so it's fine.
Good. I try to stay way back.
Yeah, I'll glare in raid at whoever did it to me if they get close again next time.
Oh yeah, Pistol has no trouble calling anybody out. That's fine.
Well, if some people are getting damaged, I think they like to know if they didn't see the debuff on them.
They're standing in front with you. That's
well,
bad.
I'm like, hey, yeah, no, I think I call that a personal favor. I think you want to stay alive, and I'm in your death zone. But no, the shock lance, the sever, those are the effects. The stacking tank debuff on either side. Alternate that, and you'll be fine. The trick that Darg and I were working on last fight is when you're kind of in the third phase, it becomes an empowered shock lance. So that stacking debuff going to do increasing damage to the tanks, and the higher it gets, the more it's going to do raid-wide damage, which means if one tank just kept it and tried to be heroic, well, the stacking debuff keeps going up and up and up and up and up, and pretty soon you'll be the only person in the raid doing damage because everyone else will be dead. So you have to keep those stacks as low as possible. Between the two tanks, the raid-wide damage won't be higher than either the individual stacks. What we decided to do is we'll probably just do it, 2 on one, 2 on the other, 2 on one, 2 on the other. So we end up to about 4 stacks. It doesn't seem to be doing too much damage. So from a tanking perspective, we'll go easy on the taunt backing and forth at that stage, and then we've decided we'll just do 1 up from there when the damage starts to be increasing. It's kind of a DPS race at that point, but we've had no problem with it. Our first couple goes at it on heroic, so I don't think it's going to giving us too much trouble. It's the crossing back and forth, right, that's been our biggest issue. And I know, speaking for Darg and myself, we both prefer to be in the front, because if it comes down to taking damage and setting off a trap, we'd rather be the ones to do it than somebody who might be slightly more squishy. So I think that's also a good way just to keep people in the raid back. If they're, behind the marked tanks, probably makes it a little bit easier. The last thing as a tank you have to figure out is the interrupt, and as long as everyone on the raid remembers they don't want to use any interrupts on the boss when they've crossed all over already, and the tanks do the interrupt, we'll be fine. Some tanks may not be aware which abilities actually will work as an interrupt. Hopefully you do. But you definitely want to know before you're in this fight which is going to be your interrupt. Because you can keep on doing damage as much as you want up to a certain point. And that's a good thing. It's conflagration that he's doing at that point, and it's doing raid-wide damage until you interrupt it. But if the healers are having no problem keeping up and everyone's still, gathering, getting back together, you may as well let that one ride as long as you feel comfortable before interrupting. Because, you get to do damage, and all that's happening is this raid-wide damage back. And if it's not a problem, it's not a problem. So, between the tanks, you got to figure out when you're going to call doing that interrupt, as long as no one in the raid is using something that's interrupt. Yeah, that's pretty much it from a tanking perspective.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's dancing with the bosses, because there is no healing. So let's cue the music. It's time for Lorelei's Pet Battle Minute.
Hello. Well, there's not much in the way of new pet news this week, so I thought I'd pass along some good teams to use in the Argus zones. These come from Zufu's guide, and I found them to be really helpful. Many of these battles allow you to level a pet, and some are easily soloed with pets that you should already have in your stable. So let's start with Korkin and Wretch. You can put a leveling pet in your first slot, and then a Zandalari ankle render, and follow up with a Zandalari knee biter. With your leveling pet up first, pass and swap to your ankle render. Use the awesome combo of Black Claw followed up with Hunting Party. And don't be upset when this pet dies quickly, because Wretch hits hard. Finish up the battle with your knee biter using Leap, and Wretch will die. Next up is Bane Glow. Now, I haven't tried this strategy yet, but I will. Start with a leveling pet in your first slot again, and follow up with your Unborn Valkyr and Icky. When the fight starts, pass and bring in the Valkyr. Use Curse of Doom and Haunt. Don't worry when your Valkyr dies, because that's what Haunt does. She'll res later. Bring in Icky and use Black Claw and Flock, and you'll win the fight. I hope you try these teams. Let me know how they work for you, and we'll cover more of the Argus pet battles next week. And for all you mount lovers, Blizzard has a new one in the store. It's Shuzen, the Divine Sentinel. And this furry dog mount is from Pandaria, and it also flies. So stop by and pick it up. Be sure to come back next week and get a few more Argus pet teams.
And then there's
Getting Deeps with JobUI.
Getting deeps isn't just about the numbers. In fact, sometimes focusing on the numbers too much can get in the way of doing well, and more importantly, having a good time doing it. Most of us have a favorite class and spec. Sometimes that spec is doing great and dishing out the damage and climbing the DPS charts. Other times, we might see it sink to the bottom of the barrel. So does that mean that switching to another spec or another tune entirely is a good idea? Put simply, Maybe. Sure, that other class or that other spec might be stronger on the DPS charts. It might have a massively better top-end potential over what you're currently playing, but what happens when you have to focus on mechanics and you can't put a lot of thought into your brand new rotation? How much are you going to end up helping your team win if you don't have a strong comfortability and a bit of muscle memory to fall back on in those chaotic fights that you're just not used to yet? Probably not as much as you would be if you were playing a class and spec that you know like the back of your hand. Struggling with an unfamiliar rotation and unfamiliar mechanics at the same time, put simply, is a recipe for sucking. The last thing any of us want to feel like we're doing in a raid is sucking. So even if the charts are telling you that you'll get better numbers with X than you will with Y, that depends highly on the situation and how comfortable you are playing that new class and spec. So if you're thinking about switching it up, practice. Practice a lot. Get really used to that new rotation, and when you're ready, bring those deeps to the party. But until you're totally ready, you might be better off sticking with what you're comfortable with, and if you want to keep getting those deeps.
And our non-class confused tank and address.
What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking? What's wrong with tanking in a dress?
For this week's Come At Me a Tanking Minute, I'm going to be talking about keeping up the active mitigation. Now, I know we've talked about this before, but it's absolutely critical to tanking. The more complex the tanking, the more critical it is that you keep it up, the active mitigation. So, active mitigation, if you don't know what it is, you want to do a little more research and learn about it. But one of your abilities as a tank is going to be one that reduces incoming damage on a regular basis. Think of it like one of your cooldowns to decrease incoming damage, but one that's going on pretty much all the time. Pallies, for example, my class, have something called Shield of the Righteous. Now, when you've hit that, you've got X number of seconds that is going to keep up a certain percentage of damage reduction. And in my particular case right now, with all the adaptions of spec, class, gear, etc., it's up to about 50% damage reduction. So that's not too shabby, but that's only if I'm keeping that active mitigation up. Now, I got a bonus with Consecrate. There's even 20% more mitigation. So if you wonder why a lot of Pally tanks try to always stand in the Consecration, it just means that much less damage. Well, why would I need that much mitigation? I can tell the tale of Portal Keeper just a little more from a tanking perspective. I ended up dying near the end of the fight. We nearly wiped. It was pretty clear, pretty close to a catastrophic event there. And what I was really impressed is that the rest of the team managed to pull it out and survive through that encounter. But we had to look in the logs. Why did I wipe? I took nearly something like 6 million damage in the course of a second or two. Long story short, we found out I let that active mitigation drop. Usually don't, but I think I was transitioning back in from one of the portals. That was part of the problem. Maybe I should use one of my cooldowns to offset that transition time. Maybe I forgot to hit my mitigation key. Unusual, but it can happen. It's great as a tank. The higher up you get, the more challenging things go. You can get things that will improve your mitigation. And at lower levels, you don't really need that much mitigation. You could practically survive without it at LFR or even on normal. But when you're doing like we're doing, working at heroic or even beyond, it's absolutely essential to keep up that active mitigation. And that can be more important than even just using special abilities to try to offset some special damage coming in. You need to keep it up and keep it going at all the times. Trick for a lot of tanks, though, is the temptation is to try to do more damage. Often, that active mitigation ability is also high damage. And some people I've known have used, if you've got 3 charges of that active mitigation, bang, 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 they'll use them right away. And then suddenly, instead of having it going over a longer period of time and kind of dishing it out bit by bit, it's all gone. Then you got a long stretch where you don't have any active mitigation abilities ready to go, and that can be disastrous for you. So I use a tool, an add-on that helps me see whether or not my Shield of the Righteous is up or not, to make sure I'm spacing it out properly. But you definitely want to be mastering that active mitigation. And that's how you can keep alive, and people will keep coming at you in this tanking minute.
All right. And there's... It's WFN News, Warcraft Stafford News. The Command Center is up next at the Broken Shores with heavily augmented and Forces of the Order. The weekly event is bonus event, Battleground. I don't know. I don't do it. I don't know what it is. It's a Battleground bonus event. Anyway, WoW tokens are at 182 this week, up from 180 last week. The Lunar Festival is still going strong. Player Iansplosion may have found one of the most notable ways to level. He's reached level 60 this weekend by killing 19,801 boars only.
Ugh.
That sounds boring.
Yeah, I was about to
Boring,
say.
yeah, right? So it actually
Dreadful.
all came from a tribute to a South Park episode called Make Love Not Warcraft. In that episode, I guess there was a plan to level up only by killing boars in Elwyn Forest. And Iansplosion was the first one to do this.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd do that.
Nope, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I didn't. Congratulations, Iansplosion.
Well done on proving
Yes,
a
for
point
that-
and for your
for the determination to do it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
applaud you for
Give you
that.
credit.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yep, we definitely do. So, yeah, you'd work really well in a assembly factory, I think.
Oh,
Zoinks.
Well, I mean, come on, doing the same thing over and over. I can't do
maybe
that
that's
for
his day job.
5 minutes, right? Yeah, it could be. So, no offense.
No, it gets. I mean, I've seen some of those like extreme leveling techniques that people have used, like the guy who stayed neutral, and leveled up a toon, a panda, while remaining neutral, not joining the alliance or the horde. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Apparently, he did it by like collecting herbs or something. It was ridiculously long.
Well, there was a guy, and I don't know
at
if you
least
guys
there
know,
you'd be
but
rich.
on YouTube, there's a guy, and he made a character named Randy, and
Yeah.
his whole thing was make love, not Warcraft, and he didn't kill anything.
Oh, Randy's great.
Yes.
Yeah,
and
Randy's hilarious.
Except he was, God, what was it? He was at a dance party or something, and he typed /slap, and he slapped some guy because the guy was bothering him, something like that. And then, his whole episode was running off, consoling that he did physical harm to somebody, and it's absolutely hilarious. If you
Oh,
guys
boy.
have not
He
seen it,
He did pet battles though, so he did say, well, he wasn't sure if pet battles counted because are you really killing the pet? And I'm like, well, you
yeah,
are.
okay.
Can you get XP from
For
pet
a minute.
battles?
Yeah, you can. I have
Oh,
a
yeah.
friend who
Oh,
does it because he has a problem seeing the screen. He can't do a lot of anything else, so he levels
Ah.
with pet battles.
so
Yeah,
I
I
was
did-
thinking next expansion. That's the challenge for Lorelei. Pet battle leveling.
I had an alt
Oh,
that
keep finding
that
these.
actually
Pass.
she leveled up by completing a pet battle with somebody at the edge of Elwyn Forest, I believe. Over there, what is it, Duskwood? Right inside of Duskwood, there was a guy.
Yep.
Did
Well,
And-
I have to admit, I went from level 1 to level 6 with a human because I left the starting area and went right into Stormwind. Not killing anything, but I went into Stormwind and did the runaround quests that they have inside Stormwind. Like you're supposed to do the sewing one, and then there's one for getting a bottle of wine, and I got to level 6, and I went, yeah, no, I'm killing stuff.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many levels I got, but a long time ago, a friend of mine, I had played World of Warcraft for a while, and then I had taken a break from World of Warcraft, and I didn't even have my old account anymore. Had lost that and everything, and he wanted to play with me. So he had done the recruit a friend thing with me, and I made a tune, And then I hopped on his, I believe he had the Love Rocket, which is a 2-person mount. And I hopped on that, and he flew me around to get me flight points all over the place. Like, he just flew me around to places.
Nice.
And I leveled up to like level 18 or something just by discovering new locations while riding along in his rocket ship.
Well, you could have just like gone out somewhere and he could have flown you around and leveled you up for you.
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I got pretty far. He would fly around and we were chit-chatting the whole time, and he's like, "Oh yeah, so over there is such and such place, and boom, there's more experience points, and boom, more experience points."
So
Nice.
I got that same rocket, and I don't remember who I was flying around. I think it was my wife. I was flying around, but every once in a while, when you go from one area to another, it would kick her out of the rocket and let her parachute down. I'd be flying along, and all of a sudden she'd be like, I'm not on the rocket anymore." So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, we reached our time, and I think we did a pretty good podcast this week. If you guys are listening, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. We do this strictly for the fans, and plus, we love to hear ourselves talk. So I want to thank Charm for all of her beautiful music. Please go visit her website and her YouTube channel. The links are in the description below. Plus, BenSound at bensound.com and Vincent Moretto for our heavy metal tavern music. Thanks for stopping by and listening, guys, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.
Take care,
Thanks,
all.
Thanks, everybody.
I kissed an orc and I liked it. The taste of his vocal chapstick. I kissed an orc just to try it. I hope my ally friends don't mind it. It felt so wrong, it felt so right. Don't mean I'm in love tonight.
Practice a lot. Getting really used to that new rotation, and when you're sorry, let me start that again. So if you're thinking about switching it up, practice. Practice a lot. Getting really used to that new rotation. Damn it.
I think you're failing on your rotation.
You're
Oh,
kidding.
Yeah,
no,
that's true.
I had like, you ever get like some like skin oil that gets into your eye and it starts to burn?
Nope.
That happened to me like just a minute ago. So my left eye was like burning while I'm trying
I got
to like.
jalapeno oil on my contact lenses once one night when I took them out, and I didn't find out till the morning.
Oh man! All right, last try here. I've got it now. So if you're thinking about switching it up, practice a lot. Getting really used to that new rotation, and when you're I wrote it wrong.
I think you need to change that sentence.
Oh.
There we go. It should have been getting. That was that's just bad editing. All right.